Hey, this is Nicholas with the Backyard TARDIS here with another audiobook review, this time Foundation. Yes, the Isaac Asimov classic, father of sci-fi, as he's often been heard. Of course, I like H.G. Wells and Jules Verne. They came before Asimov, but Asimov, the guy coined the term robot. He was so ahead of his time. They didn't have concepts of computers yet, and this book was really good. First off, it was narrated by Scott Brick, who is an excellent narrator, but it was just him, and so he does have a good range of voices, but it is a bit of a dry book in some areas. A lot of kind of older leader men discussing behind closed doors type stuff. So there's only so much you can vary up the characters and add that to it. So if you're somebody who has trouble with audiobooks, this is definitely not one with like a ton of sound effects and full dramatization cast. This one, despite Scott Brick being a great narrator and doing a great job on this, I didn't have trouble. But for somebody who's not used to this or listening to podcasts and stuff, this might put them to sleep. Because it is a very slow book, despite at the same time it being a very fast book, which makes it hard, and so we'll get into that. But basically, it follows Harry Seldon created the science of psychohistory, or psychohistorians. And so this is mathematically predicting the future. And while you can't predict one person by math, giant masses of people, just like today, scientists predict we're going to run out of oil on this date based on how much oil we have, our current usage, the growth of usage. So he's doing similar things. He is taking math, and he is taking trends, and he is projecting down the road how humanity, things will be backed into. If, just like certain environmentalists and stuff do today, like they're going, okay, by this date, pollution is going to cause this. By this date, we're going to experience ice cap meltings. By this date, we're going to experience oil running out. There's different things that people can mathematically through science go down, and he does that politically too. He's really waging how human behavior will come out as a whole. And he's part of this intergalactic giant empire, a royal empire, and he's basically predicting that it's all going to fail, and we are going to have 30,000 years of just chaos. The universe, you have all these planets that are apart, and if society breaks down, like when Rome broke down, the thing is like Britain came and conquered a bunch of it. New countries were formed. But if you have separated planets, and suddenly you lose space travel because society breaks down, and you lose nuclear power, but with space power, there's certain planets that don't have necessary resources. If they're cut off from other planets, what does that mean? What would this mean for the world? And so, with that, of course, just like in ancient times, when you come up with a new science, he's considered a heretic because he's talking about the empire failing, and he's not talking about it failing today. He's saying it's going to fail in the future. And so, at first the king's ready to have him killed, but he's manipulating, getting him to start this foundation. They're going to do encyclopedias. Now, he hadn't thought of computers. He didn't understand that. But even such, the lack of computers makes sense in this world, in a world where you had kind of a robot uprising and all sorts of machine guidance is gone. Everything has to be done by hand because mankind has basically nearly been taken over by the machines. And so they have they have rules and laws against it. They don't want machines. But then all of a sudden, they go off, they're on this planet, and then we have a 30-year time jump. And then they find out the encyclopedia was just a diversion to keep them focused, and it's put them into a manufactured predicament that's going to cause them to go down a route that Sheldon, or that he wants. Sullivan wants. It's Harry Sullivan. Man, Salty Nerd Podcast, they're reviewing the TV show on Apple TV, and they keep saying Sheldon. Now I'm doing it. So Harry Sullivan, he's got this all set up, and then they do the next one is like a 50-year jump, and then I think it's an 80-year jump, and it keeps going on the different phases. And it completely changes cast. So while it's kind of a more slow show, it's more political talk behind scenes, need for revolution, need for change, here's fact guiding, all this kind of stuff, like the world building. You don't ever really get to see like revolutions and fighting and all that stuff that is kind of alluded to is going to happen. And then you have a time skip and it goes to the next one. But the cast completely, and maybe one or two people from the previous era is still alive. And now it's time for them to be overthrown by the next stage of the plan. And it's a really good and fascinating book. I'm looking forward to getting into this series. Now, you have stuff like they brought up. Coruscant is the planet. Arrakis, the Iraqians, reminds you of Dune. So you see how this has influenced later sci-fi, really a lot of the basics. And what's amazing is so much of those basics were laid down long before we had technology. Like this guy wrote this, back before we had any of this stuff that we have. The fact that we weren't having any of modern society, any of the stuff that we have going on, and they're imagining all this stuff. When you think that, like, the telephone and the car and stuff are a new thing during his lifetime, or when these books were being written, and he's already predicting robots and spaceships and interplanetary travel and a giant empire it's amazing how much thought went into this. And yet all of that, the psychohistorian aspect is something unique that you don't really see in anything else. And I really, really like that kind of aspect to it. So anyways, that's my review of it. Definitely check it out if you're into audiobooks. If you're not, maybe try reading it, or maybe the Apple TV show is going to be the better way for you to consume this. It is a great story, but like I said, it's a bit dry. If you're somebody who has trouble following along with audiobooks, this is probably not going to be one that's going to capture you. But it is a great world, and if you are a sci-fi nerd, it is definitely part of the fundamentals. So in some way or another, pick up some of Isaac Asimov's work, iRobot, Foundation. Even if you're just going to read the Wikipedia summaries, like, get to know this world, because it has such a footprint in the rest of sci-fi to come. And it's definitely something that is, well, pun intended, the foundation of sci-fi. With that, hope everybody enjoys, and I'll catch you in the next video.